Gaming has been on the uptrend for a couple of years now. 2023 was a great year, but that doesn't mean there aren't some less than desirable patterns, let's say. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 8 recent gaming trends that absolutely suck. Starting off at number 8, it's bad game UIs, user interfaces for the lay. They've been a joke for years now. I'm pretty sure that original underwater escort mission picture is 12 years old, and I know people have been making fun of bad, overly cluttered UIs from even before that, but things seemed like they were improving. And honestly, if you look at the overall gaming landscape, the UI is generally getting better. If you're the type of person who likes as little UI as possible, that is. I am that type of person. There were a lot of games in 2023 that had simple, unobtrusive UI elements that were not really distracting. But that doesn't mean there isn't a trend of bad UIs that exists alongside that. We call that a parallel trend. And, oh, does it exist? So there's been a mix of positive and negative impressions about Suicide Squad from Rocksteady in terms of gameplay, but the UI design, on the other hand, I mean, look at this cacophony posted by Reddit user Curl. It's literally like all those UI joke images come to life. Like, remember that game Gearbox did that was meant to be an Overwatch killer, Battleborn? Suicide Squad's UI looks a lot like that, but somehow actually more cluttered and confusing. The thing is, separately, a lot of this stuff isn't bad, but all together, it really overwhelms. There is just simply too much going on here. Maybe Rocksteady will ease back and fix this crap before launch, or at least give us the option to turn some of this stuff off. I don't know, but seriously, ugh. This is too much. And it's hardly the only recent game that's been lambasted over its UI. It's probably one of the most cluttered I've ever seen, but I guess another macro problem is tiny text. I don't think we can accuse Suicide Squad of that, but do you ever remember trying to play Dead Rising on a CRT back in the day? It was just unreadable, and for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to have gotten a lot better. It seems like developers just assume people are playing on huge monitors, but I don't know why they're overlooking the rise of handheld PCs like the Steam Deck, which is hugely popular. You would think that they'd add in some kind of option to adjust text size as a matter of accessibility, but there's just nothing, and a lot of games are bad about this. It should be easy. Just resize the UI to make it readable on certain displays. I know it's not trivial or anything, but it's more trivial than a lot of other accessibility settings that games have now. Why isn't there a text size slider? And number 7, terrible licensed games are back somehow. A trend that I just didn't think would come back. For years, it seemed like the bad license game had finally been banished to the mobile games market, but somehow in 2023, these half-baked, overpriced piles of crap have managed to scrape their way back onto Steam, the eShop, and the PlayStation Store. I'm talking about garbage like Kong Skull Island, Lord of the Rings Gollum, or Walking Dead Destinies, just total junk that publishers have the gall to sell for nearly full price. These games are not worth $20, let alone $50. It's tempting to call them lazy cash grabs, but from reading about them, you find developers were clearly overworked and underpaid. Like, it's a miracle these games even came out. And it's publisher greed that ultimately makes these games bad, not necessarily the developers. I mean, a lot of the time they're given impossible timetables and pathetic budgets to put together a game that's selling for the same price as, like, Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Ring. It's such a strange contradiction. Like, 2023 was without a doubt one of the best years for gaming in a long time. But I ended up playing a ton of bad games just because of Game Mill. It's shocking that a company has been around that long with their primary problem in the name. This is a company that was founded 22 years ago with that name, doing what they do. Like, these games should be sold for like $3 on phones, not as $50 premium experiences. And licensed games saw a bit of a resurgence in general over the last year. We got a great RoboCop game, a great Warhammer 40k RPG, got a couple of League of Legends spin-off games that ended up being pretty good. But those IPs, like, kind of work perfectly with video games. If you go back in video game history, a lot of the reason licensed games were so bad was twofold. Firstly, the games themselves were kind of an afterthought in marketing. Oh, we should have a game to promote Ghostbusters 2. And the second part is that all the norms of video games were still being developed during the era where there was an onslaught of that type of game. A game that we might consider a clunker today might be somewhat innovative 20 years ago, so there was a little bit more margin for error and they could get away with a little bit more. That isn't to say that they weren't bad games then as well, but expectations were different. I'm still gonna say, however, that nobody was asking for a Lord of the Rings game where you play as Gollum. And number 6 is developers responding to reviews on Steam. Love them or hate them, Steam reviews do serve an important function, and I am personally glad they exist. Yes, they can be dumping grounds of nonsense or tedious culture war battlefields, but as a way to gauge general impressions of a game, Steam reviews can be helpful. I mean, you actually have to read them because often there is strange opinionated nonsense, but in terms of indie games that tend to fly under the radar, they can be especially helpful. One feature that Steam affords devs is the ability to respond to Steam reviews, and I want to make it clear that it isn't always something that sucks. Sometimes it serves an important function like offering technical advice or explaining game mechanics or even telling people that they're aware of a bug and are working to fix it. For smaller developers, being able to reply to reviews is useful for engagement and allows them to acknowledge problems and offer solution. The very concept of devs responding to reviews is not the problem here. The problem is how this is being utilized, particularly by big developers and publishers like Bethesda. They've been taking some heat over attaching these massive replies to Steam reviews on Starfield. They're not really addressing issues or trying to resolve technical problems. They're basically just arguing against game boring, crafting sucks type reviews by saying, there's lots of things to do in the game, and the crafting, it's actually pretty good. If we do say so ourselves. And, you know, I don't think that Starfield is incredible or anything, but I'm certainly among the people that are more likely to defend it than attack it. But that's batshit insane. You look demented doing that, Bethesda. Stop doing that. Like, all this trying to drown out criticism with walls of text comes off petty and delusional. And again, I'm not necessarily saying that everybody ragging on Starfield in their reviews are right either. Like I just said, I'm among the people who are likely to defend the game, even if I will do so while also saying they need to switch to Unreal immediately and just give up on their stupid engine. It's not a terrible game. Those people, however, are entitled to their opinion. And one of the biggest developers of all time coming in to try to flop its dick out on the table in the comments, it seems like it should be beneath them. I don't know, maybe some people like that Bethesda is willing to defend their game, but I'm weirded out when somebody flops their dick out on a table. I think it seems desperate and weird. Sorry. At number 5, the war against mods. I don't mean like moderators, I mean modifications. The mod community is often the thing keeping a game alive well past the point where a developer gives up on it. Like, look at Thief the Black Parade, a fan-made mission pack for the original Thief that came out in 2023, about 25 years after the original game. And it's good, also. Mods are what keep games alive, but recently it feels like a lot of companies are kind of turning on them. Probably the most recent example is Capcom, who just last year said they consider mods to be cheats, and were trying to figure out how to block them in their games entirely. I mean, there could be an argument to be made here for multiplayer games. Some mods could affect the balance of the game in a way that's unfair, but Capcom is targeting everything, including single character model replacement mods. Like, remember all the goofy Mr. X replacement mods? When Resident Evil 2 Remake came out, Capcom wants those to not exist. Like, that's something that makes people like your games, Capcom. And the way that they're stopping people from modding their games, they're adding DRM to them because, yeah, DRM, people love that. And they're doing it to such an extent where they're adding it to like old games like Resident Evil Revelations. Unsurprisingly, that backfired. The DRM broke the game for many people and it was eventually removed almost as quickly as it was added on. For now, most mods in games like Street Fighter 6 are safe, but Capcom seems pretty serious about blocking mods from the games. And I hate to single out Bethesda again, because normally they're one of the better devs out there when it comes to mod support, but they recently patched Skyrim in a way that didn't just break many mods for players, it also added a new paid mod store on top of that, just to add insult to injury. They may not be actively trying to stop modding, but they don't make it any easier. And again, that's what I think would be their main argument for staying on the creation engine, and they seem to be, coming up with another good reason why they shouldn't stay on the creation engine here. And number 4 is soft aim hacks that are hurting online multiplayer games. This is an issue I haven't really seen widely reported on, but it's a growing issue for online multiplayer shooters that's getting worse. You're probably aware of blatant cheats like aimbots and stuff like that, the sort of thing that gets players straight up banned from games. But there's another category of cheat that's a bit more of a gray area. These soft aim hacks, instead of breaking the rules of the game, these cheats just modify the tools that are already there to work in your favor a little more. The most popular variety allows players with keyboards to emulate controllers, giving them the benefits of using a mouse and keyboard while also taking full advantage of the strong auto aim given to controller players. It's kind of the best of both worlds, which is great when you're using it, but sucks for everyone else. The worst thing about it is it's just taking advantage of the systems that are already in place in the game, and these sorts of tricks are pretty hard to detect. Multiplayer devs want to have the largest community available all the time, so they want people with keyboards and controllers to play together. Many of these problems can be solved by just making controller-based matchmaking, but that's a step too far for a lot of these game makers. One recent example of a game played with soft hack issues is The Finals, a game that has extremely powerful auto-aim for controllers. In most cases, devs just kind of let these issues fester, but the company's credit, they actually did come in and adjust the auto-aim to make it less powerful, which limits the effectiveness of soft hacks and makes the game more fun to play in general. Cheating issues with online multiplayer games suck, and it seems like they're getting worse, but at least there are a few developers who seem serious about keeping this sort of cheating out of their games. And number 3 is terrible, no good PC ports, with PCs becoming more and more people's main source of gaming, and with more previously console-only games getting released on PC, you'd think publishers and devs would start taking ports a little more seriously, but unfortunately in the last year, that hasn't improved. In some ways, it's actually gotten worse. I don't know how that's possible, but it has. A lot of ports really came out in rough shape these last years. Not just talking about indies. I mean, like, games from huge studios like Naughty Dog, and multiple games published by EA. Like, Last of Us Part 1 PC port was a disaster. Tons of people were complaining about the crashing, the missing textures, a lot more. Redfall also has a pretty abysmal PC port, though in that game's case, it didn't run great on Xbox One X either. The king of bad PC ports in 2023 has to go to EA, though. Dead Space Remake, Wild Hearts, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor all got ports that should have been handled much better. They were stuttery, slow, and unoptimized. Jedi Survivor was especially bad, and even more than 6 months later, there's still pretty bad glitches and issues on PC. I will say Dead Space Remake plays pretty well for me now. I don't know what they've really done. I know they've patched a few minor things, but it does seem significantly better for me than at launch, at least. But it's kind of more the type of thing you'd expect from a no-name indie studio with no resources, not the biggest game publishers in the world. I am getting sick about complaining about this, and I'm sure you're probably sick of hearing it, but it's not, like, getting better. And number 2 is even worse, Switch ports. Sometimes it's easy to forget how good you have it. Sure, those PC games I mentioned ran worse than they should, but they were at least recognizably whatever games they're supposed to be. With some of the Switch ports from the last year, I'm not sure really what to say. Like, look at the footage from Mortal Kombat 1 on the Switch. It's kind of cute that they even decided to port it over, but holy lord, it is not worth the asking price. It looks like one of those potato mode mods that people post on YouTube as a joke, but it's a real product. It looks hideous, and the load times are apparently unacceptable as well. And that's nothing compared to the Batman Arkham Knight Switch port, which is a disaster from top to bottom. There's of course expected stuttering and slowdown in the open world, but when you get in the Batmobile, it becomes unplayable. Cutscenes go out of sync, certain challenges are impossible to finish. It's disgraceful all around. They're not even letting players buy the game separately. If you want Arkham Asylum and Arkham City on Switch, you gotta get Arkham Knight too. No refund. I know the Switch is getting old, so it shouldn't be a big surprise, but to see the port jobs this bad for such high-profile games sucks. Like, why is Doom and Wolfenstein possible on this platform in a manner that's good, but certain other games aren't? And finally, at number 1 is this mass layoff and studio closure problem. Hate to end it on a downer, but if there's one trend from the past year that sucks more than any other one, it's this. Over 9,000 jobs were lost in the video game industry in 2023, and those are just the ones we know about, that have been announced publicly, that we are completely aware of. Like, it's not required that a studio report layoffs, at least not if they're not publicly traded, and you can find developers talking about it. And I know it's a trend of layoffs that's affecting the entire tech industry, but it sucks either way. I don't care if there's reasons for it, it sucks. The reason I think makes it suck worse, actually, especially when you start talking about Embracer, who bought up every dev they could to get their hands on, like a huge roster of insane crap, and then they couldn't, fund themselves. Like, so many great studios got embraced only to end up as another casualty of the failed Saudi deal. Like, look at Free Radical Design. They were picked up by Embracer, started work on a new Time Splitters game, which, by the way, I can't tell you how much I want. And then they were shut down before Christmas. There are countless stories coming from studios picked up by Embracer that sound exactly the same as that. It's such a pointless waste of talent. We can only hope this is one gaming trend that cools off in 2024, because obviously you don't want to see people lose their jobs. Like, that sucks. It ruins your life. Like, that's 9,000 reported lives ruined, right? At least temporarily. Obviously, a lot of these people will be given opportunities and land on their feet. And I really hope a lot of the Embracer stuff ends with a lot of these studios reopening under somebody else because somebody buys the name or something. I don't know. This just sucks so much. I feel so bad for so many people. And that's it for today. Sorry. Like I said, ending it on a bit of a downer, but that is all. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're tired of this crap, we want to hear about it in the comments too. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.